Today, gentlemen, we barons of industry, we captains of commerce, break ground on a new facility that will bring industrialization to Hobbitopolis and change the world as we know it. For the first time in forever, automation will persist. We will make pumpkin pie at a rate no one could imagine. All the ingredients, everything will flow to this center point, and we will spit out the pies. The pastries will flow, my friends, and we will become wealthy. I cannot wait to see the day that our piles of money rise to the sky and the pies feed the people. Anyways, gentlemen, we must begin. So guys, today we're going to be working on an automatic pumpkin pie farm that's going to consist of 3 separate farms, all flowing into one central location and automatically crafting pumpkin pies. We're going to need sugar, eggs, and pumpkin to be able to do this. And we've already got a sugar farm right here. We also have a pumpkin farm over here that I built between episodes. I've been working pretty long hours and going on trips on the weekend, and I haven't had a whole lot of time to play Minecraft, but I have gotten in a couple little projects, and this is one of them. I tried to make it look more like a realistic pumpkin patch with more foliage. The Minecraft pumpkins aren't really realistic. It's sort of just a single vine connected to this giant pumpkin. But I'll put up a picture of a real-life pumpkin patch on the screen right now so you guys can see. They're a lot more leafy, and they're not very dense like Minecraft pumpkin farms are. Typically you'll see them planted in rows versus they're more chaotic in nature in real life, and yeah, just more bushy. So I tried to emulate that. The problem with that is this is not great for harvesting. It kind of takes a while to go around and, you know, mine everything without breaking other things. So we're gonna need something a little bit better if we want to make an automatic pumpkin pie factory. And that's where these holes I dug come in. Underneath of this pumpkin patch and underneath of the sugarcane patch, I have dug holes where we will be creating an automatic sugarcane farm and an automatic pumpkin farm. We're also going to be making an automatic egg farm beneath a chicken coop. I have not made the chicken coop yet. That is something we will be doing this episode. So this episode will consist of us doing some redstoning, but also some building, and I think it'll be a fun mix, and at the end we will have unlimited pumpkin pies, my friends! So, let's hop right into it, and start doing some redstone. So to start off, we're going to be building the sugarcane farm, which I think is a little bit more simple than the pumpkin farm that we'll be creating. And it's a tileable design, which is also super nice. That means that basically we can have this one wide system duplicated for as long as we need in order to harvest the amount of sugarcane that we want. So the basic premise of this is really simple. We're going to have a observer be on the top here, which are so annoying to place because you kind of have to do that. I wish that the face would face the direction that you look. Like, I wish that, or not the direction you look, I wish the face would face opposite to the direction you look, because I feel like I need to place stuff that way so much more often. And then we're going to have a piston in order to break the sugarcane. We're going to put a block behind the piston, and we're going to have a redstone dust on top of that block. So really this farm, the harvesting mechanism is only 4 blocks. It's really simple. So now what's going to happen is if we put a sugarcane here and it grows, when it hits that 3rd block, the piston is going to push it and break the top 2. It's really simple, and like I said, this can be duplicated for as far as we need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a 2-wide system and stretch it out probably to the end of this room here. And then if we decide that this is not enough sugarcane and that we're going to need more than this, then I'm going to expand this room out a little bit and duplicate this on the other side. But I'm going to finish this farm up, and I'm going to come back once I finish it. Alright guys, so other than the collection system, which I'm going to be working on later, because I think all 3 farms are going to have the same collection system, just flowing between them. This farm is done. It's really, really simple actually. And it works pretty well. Boom. So I was thinking about removing some of these observers, And I might, because if you look, it triggers this whole row when one grows in the middle. So I could just use one observer on each side and save a lot of redstone components. That would make it a lot less efficient though, because if I took away this observer, and let's say, you know, all of these are maybe at 2 high, but then this one goes to 3 high, then it doesn't get harvested. But this one is kind of dead in the water, not doing anything. So I don't know. I need to determine that. I'm thinking maybe I'll remove them and only leave the one in the middle, or maybe 2 on each side or 3 on each side. Yeah, I think I'll do that and then come back and show you what we've got going. Okay, so I removed about 2/3 of the observers and I left 4 on each side. So it's going to be a little less efficient overall, but I don't think that's too big of a problem. I think that we don't really need a copious amount of pumpkin pies, if I'm being honest. I just thought it would be a very fun episode idea to kind of try my hand at automation in redstone, which is something I am not super proficient with. And pumpkin pie seems like a great thing to have at this base, considering it's all about farming. And that's 3 new farms that we could create. So, from this, I think we're going to move on to a pumpkin farm, which is going to use a very similar principle of updating an observer and then harvesting with pistons. Except instead of the pumpkin updating the observer, it's going to be the stem, which is super fun. The stem of the pumpkin actually updates when they grow. Because it hooks onto the pumpkin, it connects to it. So we're going to go over here and we're going to make that farm. It is also tileable, but not in the same way. So I may just end up building the whole farm and then showing it to you. I'll be back. So like I said previously, this pumpkin farm is also a tileable design, but instead of being that sort of one wide linearly tileable design, this one is horizontally tileable, which means that each of these cells, which has to be at least 2 blocks, right? Pumpkin stem, pumpkin growth, can be kind of expanded on infinitely out in any direction on this same flat plane. I think this is one of the easiest farms in the whole wide world to make, and it starts with a grid of observers over whatever level you want to grow the crops on. So, as you can see, we've got our grid of observers, and then there's a secondary grid between them of pistons. So it all ends up looking like this. It's a checkerboard. We are not playing checkers or chess on it. We are playing pumpkins. A better game. But the next step is even more grids. So on top of the observers, we're going to be placing redstone dust. And after that redstone grid, we're going to come over top, and above the pistons, we're going to place blocks. And this lets the redstone power get into the pistons. So now what we have is a observer system powering a system of pistons. So if we place a block here, it triggers all of the pistons around that observer. And that emulates a pumpkin growing right here, and then it will break them. So lastly, we're going to have to build our pumpkin platform, which is just going to be a tiled design of dirt, farmland, dirt, farmland, dirt, farmland, dirt, farmland. On top of the farmland, we're going to be planting our pumpkin stems. So I'm going to get all of that in because that's going to be a little obnoxious and take a while to do all of. And I'll come back once we have a functional pumpkin farm. So now we've got all of our pumpkins in, and as you can see, they're also laid out in a grid. So this whole farm is just one grid, pretty much. And they'll keep growing, and then eventually they'll start harvesting pumpkins. I was thinking about making the collection system for these 2 farms next, considering they are operational, and I don't really want to be wasting resources, but I also don't think it makes sense to start working on a collection system and figuring out how we want all these minecarts to run without getting the last farm built, which is going to be a chicken egg farm, which is super simple. It's probably the easiest of the 3 farms. It's just going to be chickens and hopper. So I think we're going to build a chicken coop probably right around here, and then hook it up to that same collection system. So I'm going to get on that, and we're going to do some building since we've done so much redstone already, a whole 2 little teeny farms. But yeah, I'm going to work on getting some materials together and figuring out a palette for this build, and then we'll hop right into it. Chicken coop time, it's chicken coop time. Once I fix this creeper hole. Chicken coop time, chicken coop time. Once I fix this creeper hole. All right, so I did a little bit of terraforming. I just sort of made this hill a little bit more sharp here so that we can put our chicken coop in probably kind of in this area from where we're standing over. I don't think chickens need a whole lot of area based on my understanding of chicken coops. So I don't think that it's going to look weird or be cruel to our little chickens to have them in kind of a tighter area. But I think I've got an idea in mind. I did do a little bit of test building in a creative world, and I think I found a design that I rather like for a chicken coop. So I'm going to get that going. And I'm curious, what do you prefer when I do builds? Do you prefer some sort of a live commentary? Do you prefer just me bringing you in every now and then? Do you not want to see the process at all? What is good in your estimation as far as builds go? Because I could definitely see it getting a little tedious when you're just watching me kind of place block after block after block and there's no real content there, if that makes sense. But also I know that some people do like to see the builds happen. They like to understand the process. They like to know what's going on, or maybe they want to see a time lapse or some other sort of quick method of displaying the build. But you guys will have to let me know how you feel about that in the comments, because I could definitely do all of this off camera, but I could also do it all on camera. So it's really going to be up to your guys' preference, and I'll try to keep it as a mix of all of that until I get kind of a consensus. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting question for me. You know, considering I'm not really a YouTuber, I sort of just hang out here. So any information that you guys could give me about that and what you prefer would be helpful towards me and the content I produce. But I think this time around, this is such a small build that you guys can kind of get the gist if I just show it to you at the end. Like, I don't think you really need to watch the whole process to see what it looks like at the end, if that makes sense. It's going to be very easy to understand and very straightforward. So I might just finish this up off camera and then pop back and we can do a run through of it. And done. I think that is our chicken coop all completed. I don't think I want to do a door at the front, but actually I do think that I want it to be a too high entrance. So there. Now that's our chicken coop all completed. And I think it looks pretty good. It might be too high. I might actually end up wanting to lower it down just so it sits on top of these. But I think for now it looks pretty good. And my understanding is that chickens cannot jump over trapdoors like this. I think this should work to contain them. The downside is we only have 5 eggs. So I'm actually going to dig down under here and I'm going to set up the actual little chicken farm, which is just going to be chickens on a hopper to collect eggs over time. And once we get enough, I'll, start using them to populate the upper areas. But I think if we just dig this way, and maybe this way, come on. There we go. Okay, we were almost centered on this tunnel. But yeah, I'm just going to dig out this tunnel and get it to go further over towards this. And then I'm going to make a little tiny chicken farm. A little tiny egg farm, I guess. And, it'll get better as we get more eggs and we get more chickens. But for now, it's just going to be a couple on top of a hopper. So I'm going to make that. So, like I said, our chicken farm is going to be very simple. It's actually just going to be this hole. And we're going to throw chickens in it. And then the collection system that we make eventually is going to end here. It's going to pick up the eggs, and then it's going to swing underneath of the pumpkin farm and pick up the pumpkins, and then underneath the sugarcane farm and pick up the sugar, and then go over to a pumpkin pie factory, deposit it all in an item sorter, and then craft pumpkin pies. But it seems like I'm out of eggs. Those 5 did not get me anything, so I'm going to run around and try to collect them from chicken, I guess. I don't know. I was hoping I would get at least 1 from those 5, but it's looking unlikely, so I'm going to find some chickens and see if we can get, I don't know, maybe 5 more is enough, please? But I'll be back. Hello. Do you have a moment for me to steal your babies? Where is your child? I would like to take it from you, please. Pardon me, my feathered friend. Do you happen to have an infant I can steal? Ah, hello. I'm sure your grandchildren will taste delicious baked into my pies. Very nice. All right, 12 more eggs. Let's see. All right, that's one. Okay, that's better than none. We have an automatic egg farm. It is just a very slow automatic egg farm. I think I'll probably run around a little bit more and see if I can get a couple more eggs. Just because one is a slow start. But if I can get more eggs from running around and even get it up to 2 chickens, then we've doubled our rate. Little small incremental increases seem much bigger when there is a smaller starting value. So I think it's definitely well worth it to get to that point. And then the amount of eggs we get will slowly skyrocket from there. So I'm gonna get more chickens, and maybe I'll try to get like 3 or 4 in there, and then I'll come back. And I think once that happens, we should probably get the transport system for the items hooked up, and then maybe make the automatic crafter at the end. So guys, we've got our item collection system going, and it's bringing everything back to these chests where we're having sugarcane, eggs, and pumpkins all sorted out with this Impulse SV item sorter design, which is just a tileable item sorter. I'll link it in the description. And yeah, I think next step is we make our automatic crafter. I don't think we've got enough room in here though. So I'm going to dig this out, and then I'm going to time-lapse the crafter and sort of do a voiceover to explain what exactly I'm doing when I'm building it, because it is my own design, and I know it's not great, but maybe I could help someone out with doing it. So yeah, we'll do a little bit of a time-lapsey tutorial thing, but I'll be back when that's a kicking. So in order to get items into our crafter system, we're taking them down in these hoppers and putting them into these droppers before they go into the crafter, so that we can control how many items get into the crafter and we're not jamming it up. This system here of comparators detecting items in these droppers is also going to help prevent jams by stopping the system if there's not any eggs, sugar, pumpkins, if any one ingredient runs out. We're then running this into an AND gate, so it checks if any one ingredient runs out, it stops, rather than they all have to be out for it to stop. It was not quite large enough there, so I did expand the size. And then what we're going to be building here is the system to trigger the crafting, which is just a very basic hopper clock. I think I did 8 items in the hoppers, which I believe equates to about 1 tick, 1 pulse per 2 seconds. And that's just a very simple design. It's the Etho hopper clock. And then we go over here, and I realized that it's putting sugar cane into the system instead of sugar. Which was an oversight of mine. I definitely forgot to craft it into sugar, so I'm just adding in a very simple crafter system here directly off of the item sorter, and it's going to be powered by an observer clock, which I had trouble placing them facing the right way, but I get it in the end there. And I tried to do some sort of system to only power this when there's actually sugarcane items in there, but I couldn't quite figure it out. I might come back to that later, but for now we're just going to leave that always powered. And then we're going to jump down to the bottom here, and we're going to run a wire from the hopper clock into the actual crafter. And this is very simple. It's just one single wire, one single redstone torch tower that powers the whole system. Because we are powering that crafter block that's in the middle of the 3 droppers, it's powering all 3 droppers and the crafter with the same pulse. So it's putting items in the crafter, and then it's crafting. Very simple. And then I'm taking this the signal off of this AND gate, off of this item detector, and running it into the hopper clock so it stops the system if we run out of items. All right, guys, look at that. As you saw in the time lapse, we have got this thing up and running. It's not quite as cleanly built as the one I made in creative to test this out, but everything is working. A couple of hiccups during building, as you saw, like not having enough room and not realizing the sugar cane needed to be crafted into sugar, but we got everything working and didn't have to tear anything down. So yeah, we've got this machine going. I think the next step is going to be the most fun for me personally, because I love building. We're gonna try to build this bakery, and then we're gonna make an item elevator to get those pies up into it. So the bakery is gonna go right here. I am probably gonna do another time lapse, I would think. Just based on how big it's gonna be. I don't have a plan in place, but you know, the way I do it is I just try and I see where it takes me. So we're probably gonna hop into that right about now. Okay, guys. So I think that time lapse was maybe getting a little long. So I just built the main structure, and I think we'll time lapse that. And I think I'm gonna go through and do a little bit of detailing and texturing and all that, putting in windows and everything. And then once I do that, we'll come back, just so the time lapse isn't super long and I'm not keeping you here. But I think it's looking pretty good. We did a very similar thing to our stables. It's actually the same exact palette and design, and I figured that can be for more prominent buildings versus just like little farmhouses. We can do kind of this fancier palette, if you will. But I think this is looking pretty good. We're gonna have our little like bakery stand, and then we've got the big like oven to cook stuff. And I think once we get some more details in, it will look even better. So I'm gonna do that, and we will be right back. I think the best way to take a look at this build is going to be to approach it as we would if we were walking. And you see we've got some of the details in, we've textured the walls a little bit. It's not quite done. I would say it's maybe 90-95% of the way there. There's definitely some things I still want to change. I don't know how keen I am on this roof, but we'll see. We'll see as time goes on. We'll see if there's anything I want to change. But yeah, I think it's looking pretty good so far. Obviously, no interior, but that doesn't matter too much. And we've only got one thing left to do this episode, and I think that's to pump the pies up to here. I think I want to have a barrel that I can just walk up and grab them out of somewhere in this little front market stall bit. So I'm going to work on that. I think it'll be easy enough. It's just going to be a bubble elevator that gets up there. And I'll come back once we have pumpkin pies flowing up. Look at this, guys. We have our pumpkin pies coming up to the surface here. Got a little clock under here. I'm actually going to put a torch down to try to prevent some lag with the lighting updates there. But yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. I did it to end up taking these trapdoors off. It's just the way I did that redstone. Here, I'll show you. So I figured I would just redesign it. But that's okay. I still think it looks pretty good with the stone there. And yeah, we were just pumping away at these pumpkin pies. This was the stockpile that built up. It is not actually producing this quickly. If we actually go down, we could get a better estimation of how quickly it produces. Let's see, where do we need to look for that? We need to go down to here. A little dense, honestly. We need to keep an eye on this system here, this crafter, these droppers. It doesn't trigger constantly because it is fed by the minecart system. You can see that it actually works rather slowly. But that's okay. Like I was saying earlier, we don't need a whole lot of pumpkin pies, and this is just kind of a neat project that, you know, I thought would make a kind of fun episode. So I think we're probably going to call it there for today, guys. I know that this episode wasn't quite as polished as the other ones. I kind of just, you know, was so busy for 2 weeks, and I really just felt bad making you guys wait, and I wanted to get this one out. But I hope you enjoyed it and are looking forward to the next episode, which honestly, I might take a break from Hobbitopolis. We might step away and do a build somewhere else. I think that might be a little bit of fun. Either that or maybe we'll kill the Ender Dragon. Who knows? I might want an Elytra, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Bye. We've done it, my friends. We have created uncomparable wealth in this world. We have the pumpkin pies, we have the diamonds, the industry is ours, and soon the people will be too. This last new world will become ours.